So this one is our first information session for MedTech Innovator and BioTools Innovator applications for 2025. So first of this year, there are a few more to come. We'll talk about this one is, all right, we're good. Okay. So as mentioned, this is our first info session. You'll hear today about our program. So we'll do our best to give you enough information about what's coming up for our applications, our programs, and then you'll hear today from the people here on the slide with us. So you'll hear mostly from our program directors today. Nicole Black, say hi. She's our
Hi.
program director for MedTech Innovator program. Jim West, our Associate Director for BioTools Innovator Program. Hi, Jim.
Hey, everybody.
And then we'll have two of our 2024 winners for each of the programs with us today. Thank you so much, Maria Artunduaga. Sorry if I butchered your name, Maria. Please correct me. So we'll have Maria here with us. She's the founder and CEO of Samai, the winner of MedTech Innovator 2024. And we'll have Cara Wells with us today here as well. She's the founder of MGenesis and the winner of BioTools Innovator 2024. So they will both be here to tell you a little bit about their experience in the program. So we're always happy to have our alumni here to tell you from their perspective about our programs and why you should apply. So next slide. All right, so without further ado, I want to really give it away and kind of hand it off to our program directors. I'll just mention that for those of you not familiar with us, MedTech Innovator is the parent organizations. We have three programs. We have MedTech Innovator. You'll hear more about this today. MedTech Innovator is focused on medical devices, diagnostics, and digital health. We have our MedTech Innovator, Asia Pacific, which is a program focused on the same areas of interest, but for companies focused on Asia Pacific markets. And we have our BioTools Innovator program focused on life science tools and diagnostics and enabling technologies for pharma and biotech. And you'll hear a lot more about this. All of our applications are now open. We've recently opened them, and the deadline is January 15th. We highly encourage everyone to start their applications soon rather than wait for the deadline. So with that, I think I'll hand it over to Nicole to tell us more about MedTech Innovator. Nicole, hi.
Thank you so much, Ayelet. And thank you all for joining this morning or afternoon, evening, wherever you're at. Really appreciate it. My name is Nicole, so I'm the program director of the US MTI program. If you guys end up having any questions after this, you can feel free to reach out to me at nicole@medtechinnovator.org or also on LinkedIn. So yeah, my background was I have a PhD in bioengineering, had my own startup in the tissue engineering space that was acquired by 3D printing company. Really miss working with startups. So here I am, been here since about March. So what is MedTech Innovator? So we are the industry's largest global competition and accelerator for medical device, digital health, and diagnostic companies. So some programs you might be applying to are really, just more about the accelerator part. Don't really give away a lot of prize funding at the end, or maybe they, we'll talk about this later, charge you to apply. For us. We actually give away prizes, and at the same time, we are a 5-month accelerator where we're going to be talking about all of the different things that you're going to learn during this process and as part of our cohort. And our mission is really to improve human health by accelerating the growth of companies that are transforming this system. And so a lot of great companies we've had through this. This is 717 actually so far, alumni companies that we consider still part of the ecosystem and family. And as part of MedTech Innovator, you can learn from all of these companies as well. And you may have heard this statistic that, about 95% of startups end up going out of business, while in MedTech Innovator, we're actually the opposite. 96% of our startups are still in business or have been acquired, leading to almost $9 billion in follow-up on funding after their participation in the program, 48 acquisitions, 350 products on the market, and more than 350 FDA approvals or clearances. So our alumni are really out in the world making a difference for patient lives, and would love to see you as part of this next cohort. So you might be wondering, what, in terms of medical devices and diagnostics, digital health, we actually cover. Very broad. So here's some examples, but these are just, again, some examples. We have a link on our website of some of our strategic interest areas. But if you're in the medical device space, working on, a new innovative design for your device, new surgical or endoscopy tools, implantable devices, different safety mechanisms for existing devices, or if you're more in the material space, looking at new biomaterials, tissue adhesives, tissue grafts, or interventional tools as well. These are all within our wheelhouse. And then next is diagnostics and digital health. So we actually get a lot of companies apply that are in the consumer healthcare space. One of our best video winners this year and mid-stage finalists is a great company called Oslo, which is creating sleep buds to improve sleep and also potentially treat tinnitus. So definitely doesn't, need to be a regulated medical device in the consumer space as well. We have companies improving human health. Things with workflow optimization. So ways to improve, in the operating room, how surgeons operate, use tools, things like that. Imaging technologies. Every year we have, about 5 or so different companies working on different, radiology or other imaging techniques for this. So it doesn't need to be, a physical device as well. Can be a new technology using an existing device. Patient monitoring. So we see a lot of this, especially, in the cardiology space and patient-facing diagnostics. So Jim will talk in a minute about BioTools Innovator because we've got diagnostics in sort of both of our realms. But if, it's a device that's actually going to touch the patient in any way, usually this fits more under our MedTech Innovator umbrella. And then finally, biometric measurements. So this is becoming very hot with AI, but different ways of analyzing and processing patient data as well as part of this program. And again, you can look on our website for more examples of these interest areas. If you're not sure, feel free to reach out to me or someone else from the team, and we can sort of guide you if this is within our wheelhouse, or if not, which program it might fit under the best. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Jim, who's going to talk about the BioTools Innovator Program.
Thanks, Nicole. A pleasure to see everybody here today. And yeah, I'm Jim West. I'm the Associate Director here at BioTools Innovator. I also am a founder. My former company went through the first year of BioTools Innovator, and that's how I initially got connected to the community and just loved what I saw. So when I got the chance to join, I was really excited to come in also to, get a chance to kind of give back and help companies and make them successful. And as Nicole said, I think we're going to spend some time today talking about kind of the differences between our programs because they're run in parallel. They run very similarly, but they're different programs, and so we have some slightly different things that we look for and the types of companies that we support. And so at BioTools, we're here to support the life science tool companies, and as Nicole said, MedTech Innovator companies, oftentimes they're products that touch patients. They have a regulatory component of approval or clearance and things like that. But in the BioTools Innovator, we're more products for industry, components, things like that. So it's really a lot more B2B type sales we see. And we'll kind of jump into some more of that nuance. So about our program, and before I talk about our program, Nicole, one thing one of my favorite parts about MedTech statistics is almost 30% of all MedTech investment last year went to one of our portfolio companies. It's incredible. Really fantastic. So BioTools is going into our fourth year we've completed our fourth year in operation. So we've had 4 cohorts of companies go through once a year. And we've had 63 companies make it all the way through, and so we're still young and growing, but there's a lot of exciting things happening. And in the life of our program, we've given away over $1.4 million in non-dilutive cash award prizes, and our companies in these last 4 years have raised $166 million in follow-on funding. So what we're looking for is kind of these. There we go. Thank you. we're looking for these categories. So we look at research products and instruments. So, if you've got new analytics, ways to characterize things, measure things, any sort of sequencing technology, any product that automates workflows, bench work, manufacturing work, any of that type of stuff is a great fit for our program. A lot of our companies, focus on, kind of like going to market. It's very common to have like a service model, before you're ready to quite sell a product to a customer or something like that. Services are a pretty common stepping stone in product development. And so, of course, R&D, manufacturing, and services around all of that. And that's pretty broad. It's cell gene therapy. It could be diagnostics. It could be any type of biologic or manufacturing. It could be products that would be great for CROs, clinical research organizations, and things like that. For diagnostics and enabling technologies, so this is probably of all the categories, it's the one that's conflicting and confusing the most with MedTech Innovator. And sometimes we have to sit down and figure out where people belong. But the way we kind of think about it is diagnostics technologies. If you're looking at, sequencing, analytics, you're looking at RNA, DNA, protein signals, things like that. Any of that genetic component, that would be a great BioTool product. And if it's kind of image-based or sensor-based, it's probably more of a MedTech Innovator product. We also have drug discovery and development. So this is, we've had companies that have a lot of AI drug discovery, drug, so a lot of software, a lot of multi-arrayed experimental technologies to collect a lot of data to feed into models and to do experiments and things like that. We also have enabling technologies for food and ag. So this is also an impact on human health. So this is kind of a newer area we've been growing, but I'm excited about it. And then finally, we have improving preparedness for medical countermeasures. And this is actually a new category this year, thanks to our friends over at BARDA. We've been able to actually expand some of what our program does and be able to sort of help connect companies to resources to help, be ready for the next pandemic response. So we thank them for that. And while I'm here, I just want to let you all know, we'll talk about it later, but we have an application window right now for a funding solicitation on behalf of BARDA. And so, you can apply to our programs. We want you to, but there's if this is a fit for you as well, I encourage you to check out our funding solicitation, which ends at the end of the month.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jim. So wanted to give you guys some examples of companies that have been through our program, specifically in our current cohort in 2024. And as we mentioned, we've got some of these alumni here to talk about their companies. So I'll leave the descriptions of Samai and Genesis up to Maria and Cara. But here's just some other examples if you want to take a look. So we have one company developing innovative biomaterials for different medical devices. So actually a platform technology that they're using for as an embolic for neurovascular conditions, and also another product with a similar technology for abdominal hemorrhage. So really more of a platform technology there. We have one company, the shape sensing company, creating a surgical guidance tool using fiber optic shape sensing. And then we have another company creating a 3D printed breast implants that's in clinical trials now. I'll let Maria talk a bit about Samai, and then we'll hand it over to the BioTools people.
Oh, that's it. Hi, everyone. My name is Maria Artunduaga. This year's global winner for MedTech Innovator. I'm a physician scientist by training, and I started a company called Samai, which means stupidly in Quechua. I'm originally from Colombia, as you can notice I have an accent. And we are building hardware and software for respiratory health and management, intervention, and diagnosis. It's interesting, we became the first company with 2 headquarters, US and Latin America, based in Colombia, to win the competition in 12 years. It has been very well publicized. I'm here to answer your questions. Happy to tell you more about how we did it, and more importantly, how we got into the finals, what are the things that judges are taking into consideration. Most importantly, to take advantage of the program, which I think is probably the best program that I've done. for medical technology, and I've done about 16 of them the past 5 years. So happy to be here.
Thank you so much, Maria. And we're looking forward to hearing some of Maria's advice later and how she's utilized the program. Now I'll hand it over to Jim to talk about some of their example BioTools companies and introduce Kara.
Yeah, thanks. So in Genesis, Kara's here, so we'll let her talk at the end as well. But we have companies like React for Life, who are developing organ-on-a-chip technology for drug discovery, drug validation. We have Narwhal, which is enabling purification technologies and AI. And then we have CureCan for nanoparticle delivery. So again, pretty broad there. I will say before we kind of move on, the one question we get a lot that adds confusion is we're BioTools Innovator, not Biotech Innovator. And so one of our mandates is to help the tools companies. But with that, if you're developing a drug, a biologic, something with an indication, a therapeutic, a cure, a treatment that goes through clinical trials and those sorts of things, that's not the types of companies we can help. But if there's a tool part of it, a novel technology for delivery or part of the discovery, we can help with that part. But generally, if you're just a drug company, that's not a fit for our program. So Kara, could you come on? And Kara was our winner of BioTools Innovator this last year. So we got winners all across the board here.
Hi, thank you.
Can you turn your volume up a little bit? I can't hear you well.
How about now?
A little better.
A little better? Okay. I will
Good.
try to solve that. Okay, good. So yes, my company is a BioTools company because we've developed a software tool to evaluate embryo health in real time. When I applied, to be honest, I wasn't really sure which program we would be a fit for or which vertical. But, I submitted my application anyway, and the program directors helped us find the best category for us. So I'm happy to answer any questions, but if you're a little confused with the different verticals, I was in those shoes a year ago, and we ended up winning BioTools Innovator. So I think that we can get you assistance to help clarify some of those things for anyone who's interested in applying for these programs.
Thanks, Kara, for saying that. And I jumped in exactly because of that. I wanted to just, we threw a lot at you right now with like the focus area, the interest area with the new BARDA program, and the examples here. Again, really important to drive home the fact that these are examples, right? There's a pretty broad scope outside of really if you're just developing a therapeutic, which is outside of scope, unfortunately. So outside of that, the scope is pretty broad between our programs. You can always go to our website to find those interest areas. And if it's not clear, if you're not sure, please reach out to our team and we'll help you figure out. And even if you applied to the wrong program, it really, at the end of the day, we are curating each and every application, and we'll let you know if you're in the wrong program, if we need to move you, if you have a better chance of being a good fit for the strategic interests of our partners within the other program. We will definitely let you know, and we can also help kind of triage, navigate in the beginning before you start your application. You can also apply to both program. If you have two different products, it rarely happens that you fit within both, but you can also apply to both programs with something that is unclear and that we would like to see both applications, because each application for each program is a little bit different. Obviously, you can imagine on the MedTech side, we want to ask a little bit more on the regulatory side. On the BioTool side, there are other questions related to the business model and so on and so forth. But importantly, our team is here to help navigate this, and you can go to our website to kind of see the list of kind of on paper focus areas. So, and these continue to evolve every year. So please reach out to us and let us know. And hi, Maria and Kara, thank you so much for being here, and we'll hear more from you later. All right, throwing it back to Nicole and Jim.
All right. I will hand this over to Jim to start talking about some of the great resources that we tackle through these programs. And then we're going to have Maria and Cara talk about, what specifically they've utilized throughout the program. So yeah, Jim, you want to take this part?
Yeah, thanks, Nicole. So, we're actually splitting up this slide, and part of the reason we can do that is because we operate pretty similarly. So it's different ecosystems, different groups of companies, but we do a lot of the similar things between them. And so the first thing we do in the accelerator is we provide educational content. We can't often fix the technology or the science or those problems, but we can provide insights and support into how to build successful businesses and help to find the right market for products. And so what we do is we actually run weekly webinars through the program. And so some of them happen in our own program, some of them cross over, where everybody from our programs would come together to watch a webinar. But we do these once a week, and they're really focused on the challenges that our cohort is facing. So if you go to our website, we actually have a library. You can view our past webinars if there's topics of interest or things you want to learn about. We record them and put them there, but we do new ones each year. So it's really driven towards the needs of the current cohort, but we bring in panels of experts from companies, institutions, investors, whoever else has an expert perspective on a topic. Nicole, you can talk about the office hours in your workshops as are more MedTech specific.
Sure. Yeah. So in the MedTech Innovator program, we also have a variety of service provider partners. So think, CROs to help you with a clinical study plan, or design firms to help you, if you have like a new feature you're trying to put into your device that have office hours every week. So they'll give a little intro. So I might rework this a bit for next year, but you have great access to these partners to be able to ask them, advice on whatever problem you have. And maybe they can, make referrals for future work down the road for you as well. So this is in addition to our weekly webinar series that we hold, also crafted to the cohort needs, just like the BioTools one is for them.
And Cara, did you have a favorite webinar this year?
Yes, there's several webinars that were really specific to the needs and challenges of our company. Some of the sales and marketing ones were really applicable to us since we're just now launching our product and trying to obviously scale our business. The board one was very helpful. It came at right timing. We just finished our first fundraise. So first time I had to have a board meeting. So getting tips from very seasoned professionals on what to expect and how to, conduct the meeting, it really eased a lot of my fears and concerns, and I felt a lot more prepped going into these situations.
Thanks. And then next, we offer mentorship. So mentorship, we connect companies to experts in the field, strategics, again, investors or whoever else. But I think part of what's really important about this is, I think, a big part of the value, because what separates from a lot of other accelerators is we're very focused and niche. So our entire ecosystem is built around the expertise in this field, which is really important. And so every company, whatever program you're in, you'll get assigned at least one, probably a few mentors that are specifically tailored to help you on your specific challenges and needs and the scale of your company at that time.
Yeah, awesome. And Maria, do you want to talk about some of the mentors that you worked with and what you worked with them on?
Yes, absolutely. Everything was so good. I was even going through my calendar. Every webinar that I did was very, very good. I had no concerns or complaints about it. So mentorship wise, I was paired to Johnson & Johnson. They chose the pulmonologist, given that we work in respiratory health. What I did was that I started the meeting with him weekly for 30 minutes, and we sort of like worked through a lot of things, specifically on like protocol, clinical trial design, and more importantly, our value worksheet. He actually became a very good collaborator on that end. I also was paired with 3 to 4 other additional vendors or consultants who were super helpful to me. Also, 30 minutes every week. We work on a regulatory strategy. We work on algorithms, data, cybersecurity with Siemens as well. Who else did I work with? Sunrise Labs. We're also paired with them. We work on product development, specifically hardware, product development, all of the things that I definitely don't know much about. My goodness, who else? I think I'm missing somebody else. Of course. The value worksheet. We also were paired. There's a workshop that Nicole is going to tell you about. It's a very interesting exercise that we do. I was paired to another mentor. He happened to be a marketing person with over 10 years of experience working with Intuitive Surgical doing lung cancer. And he helped me go, complete the whole worksheet. And it was very interesting. So yeah, it was super helpful.
Thank you so much, Maria. Yeah, and as Maria mentioned, we offer a value program for the MedTech Innovator cohort, where we will have an intensive workshop where you'll think about all of the stakeholders that are going to be using your product or seeing your product impacted by it in some way, including patients, providers, the healthcare system, surgeons, things like that. And you're going to critically assess what evidence you need to generate to get them to be bought into your product as well. We then have, a matching session with value coaches where each company that opts in gets matched with a value coach for additional work and optimization, and then ending in its own competition as well. So great program for those of you in the MTI cohort. And then next up, recognition, visibility. Jim, you want to chat about this bit?
Yeah, so we have the companies that make it through, as you saw, it's a pretty select group. Often about 5% of application companies make it into the program. But once you are, we work as best as we can to make you successful. And part of that is the distinction of being a BioTools Innovator company or a MedTech Innovator company. You've come pretty far to get here. You've proven yourself to have value at some level. And we give opportunities to showcase. So one thing we ask every company to do in our programs is to make a 1 minute about them video. So you create a video about your company, your story, and there's a competition around that. That's one thing that we do. We also give you chances to be on stage, to be highlighted at various events. We have BioTools as a capstone event. MedTech Innovator partners with AdvaMed to give our company stage time, and then there's other things that happen throughout. And once you're in the ecosystem with us, you're with us. So we do other things in the future. We go to JPM, and we're inviting our cohort companies to come, celebrate with us at JPM if they're there. Find ways to make connections, things like that.
Yeah, and in MedTech Innovator, we have all of our companies showcase at the MedTech conference powered by AdvaMed, which next year will be in early October in San Diego. So looking forward to seeing you guys there for that. We also partner with the MedTech Strategist Conference and for alumni device talks as well. So different opportunities to present at these conferences. And we don't charge our alumni anything special to present as part of our groups. You just pay, the normal registration, although we will give complimentary for the MedTech conference and your travel, things like that. And so next up is community. So we really, I think this is one of the strongest parts of MedTech Innovator and BioTools Innovator. We talked earlier about like how, a lot of you guys may know companies with more of a therapeutics background, biotech background. I'm in Boston. I feel like 95% of the startups are in the therapeutic space. So for me, being in the MedTech world, really great to be able to meet and network with others that are in this medical device space. And same with BioTools from all across the world. And we've also implemented leadership pods where you can select and meet with other like-minded CEOs. And even after the program, we end up keeping our alumni very well connected. We have regular quarterly check-ins as well. And so great network you can utilize on that. And I don't know, Kara or Maria, one of you guys want to talk about, sort of the community that you've developed in MTI quickly?
Sure, I'll jump in. It's a very like-minded community. Most of us are not actually competitors in the marketplace. Our innovations are very differently. Sure, we're competing from the prizes, but I think me personally, I got more out of taking the mindset that let's work with these other people and figure out if we can help each other just from a peer founder to founder basis, because quite frankly, it can be kind of lonely on top, and having these different people that understand our challenges, that was extremely helpful. And the founders of these companies are incredibly impressive. They're incredibly talented. This was not a pre-accelerator. There was very, very seasoned entrepreneurs that, you know, I got to pick their brains, and they gave us very great advice. Also, in terms of like product development stuff, I found some synergies with other companies where, you know, compounding both of our technologies together, we might have a even better product or better outcome. So we're trying to jointly collaborate on some studies there and see how we can promote each other. A lot of us, our investors, might be interested in other companies. So we had a lot of sharing of investor contact through our leadership pods and these peer networks. And also, these people are still good friends. I'm actually coming to speak at a biomedical engineering course at Virginia Tech, which is taught by one of the BTI founders. So yeah, we've kept in contact, and the program did not end in October. So I cannot speak highly enough of the program and of the caliber of people that participated in this program. It was phenomenal.
Thank you so much, Carol. Yeah, Maria, you want to share?
Sure. Yeah. So on my end, I'm going to give you a few examples. So the peer network, that what it means is that there is a Slack channel where you can post a little bit like specifically questions, right? Because as Carol was mentioning, it's like, you honestly have no idea what is it that you are doing as a first-time founder. So you ask a lot of questions. There are different channels. For example, there's a general channel where everybody from the community can actually chime in, like people from like, you know, previous founders, alumni, consultants, et cetera. So it's super helpful. I most of the time I actually go there to answer the questions that I have no idea how to, you know, go about. Super interesting. On my Slack is probably top 2 after my company's Slack that actually go more often every day. Leadership pods is another interesting exercise that we did. We get paired to probably 4 additional founders who are similarly in similar verticals, building similar you know, solutions. For example, in my case, I got paired to people who are doing digital health / wearable sensors, or AI powered enabled solutions. A lot of them were after like Series A. Most of them actually had a lot of clinical validation already under their belt. So I got to like really learn from all of them a lot. There were a few of them that were probably a little earlier than I am. So I gave them a lot of advice about grants and how to secure grants, how to write it, like how to go about it. It's, you know, like everything, it's an art and a science. It was super helpful to the point that one of them decided to go after a direct to phase 2 grant with SBIR, and I think he got very good reviews after I told him to do it. Networking events, way too many. I just love it. It's difficult to break into MedTech, especially when you're a first-time founder. And for example, I don't know, like in my case, you're not even from this country, and I'm a physician, I'm an engineer. I don't really know what's going on. So that was very, very interesting too. There are so many networking events. The first thing that you do when you start Accelerator is that we have an on-site event at Mountain View, the Computer History Museum, and you spend about 2 to 3 days with everybody, and you get a lot of opportunities to do a lot of workshops where the alumni is going to tell you exactly how they did it, you know, fundraising, how to sell, marketing, scale, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, I mean, I have so many anecdotes and histories. Yeah, I just love this program. Everybody should apply.
And they're both great parts of our community. And yeah, we hope you guys are going to be part of it as well in the future. I'm going to go through the next parts pretty quickly just because we want to get to your questions. But thank you guys for sharing. And if you have questions for Maria and Kara, put those again in the chat and Q&A box so we can get to those at the end. So other resources we have as well. So for example, PitchBook access. We also have fellows, which are usually graduate students that are assigned to each of our companies to help them with a short project as well, like market research and other investment investment insight. And then finally is funding, which you heard about. So, you know, in MTI, we give out over 800,000 in non-dilutive funding each year. Similar amount for the BioTools program this year as well, alongside the BARDA initiative. Also great access to investors. So all these conferences we go to, we'll dig up actually which investors are attending and which MTI or BTI companies they've invested in, as well as information for you guys to schedule meetings at these. So that's pretty much
Hey,
it.
Nicole, before we go on, can we go back real quick? Because
Sure.
I think I skipped over the most important point of it, was the recognition and visibility. We have two winners here. You know, I would love to hear from you guys. What has winning the program done for you guys and your company in terms of visibility and opportunities?
Can I go first?
Yeah, go for it, Mary.
So it's great. I mean, we've been all over the media, especially in Latin America. It's a big deal, right? Like we are the first Latin American company to have won the big prize. So it's been very interesting. We're getting a lot of it's one of the things that I was discussing with my CTO is that our technology isn't questioned anymore. So which is the greatest thing ever, right? Like before winning the prize, I'll get the investors' questions always about like, are you sure this thing works, Maria? And even though like we've tested on like 430 people, we have all of our sensitivities and specificities over, I don't know, 86 or 90%, even almost 99. Everything has changed for us in the way how the conversations are going, to the point that, Nicole, I'm meeting with a few big strategics in today's at MedTech strategies, people that have never taken a meeting with me before, because, you know, I mean, like they are doing what? COPD? Oh, that's boring, you know? So yeah, it has changed a lot of things for us.
I echo that completely. MedTech Innovator and Biotech Innovator have a fantastic reputation. So there's a lot of credibility when you have the privilege of being recognized of the winner of these things. So yes, completely echo what Maria said. The conversations are so much different since winning the program. You know, used to, I would have to fight for the opportunity to have some of these meetings and then, you know, defend our company and value proposition. And now people are approaching us and they almost feel lucky to have the opportunity to talk to me. And it's just been really great. And I also don't really like bragging about myself, especially in written content and social media posts. And the program does a great job of posting for us. And I just have to, you know, click repost on LinkedIn or whatever, and I can use their words and not mine. And that third-party validation really speaks a lot to investors, to the market, and other people in this space. So really appreciate that opportunity. And it's been really exciting and has not slowed down.
Awesome. Thank you both so much for sharing that. And yeah, again, as you guys are thinking of questions, put those in the Q&A box or raise your hand and we'll have you ask them live. So what are the requirements here? So early to mid-stage startups, typically, you should be incorporated. So if you're in academia still, 1 foot in, 1 foot out, you know, that can be okay. You will just need to be incorporated to, you know, accept prize funding, sign forms, things like that on behalf of your company. We also expect you to have a decent runway to execute on what your upcoming milestones are. This can be equity funding or, you know, non-dilutive funding grants, especially if you're, you know, semi still based in an academic institution, fine for this to be academic grants. You should have a prototype or some proof of concept evidence. So this is not a program for ideas. Again, this is like a graduate school incubator. So you should have something that you're ready to showcase on the market. And next, you should have someone that's willing to commit to the program. I would estimate, you know, during MTI, usually our program members spend, you know, 5 to sometimes 10 hours between mentor meetings, you know, checking Slack, staying on top of deliverables, going to webinars, interacting with the cohort, things like that. So you really need someone that's going to be dedicated to get the most out of the program. You know, you get out what you put into it. So, you know, make sure that there's someone that's willing to actually commit and follow through on this, as well as the events we'll talk about. And then in terms of funding, you know, what do we mean by early to mid-stage? Pre-seed. So, you know, one of our companies this year, I think it has, you know, only raised around 200,000 up to, you know, one of our companies has raised, you know, more than $100 million for MTI. BTI does have slightly different requirements. So I'll let Jim talk about that.
Yeah. We are expanding our focus this year. So we used to have a cutoff of $10 million in equity raise, but we're growing that this year to 25. So we support companies that are kind of either grant funded or at the very early stages, up through kind of the Series A, maybe Series B, but about $25 million is our equity cutoff. If you've raised a bunch of grant money, it doesn't count towards you.
Just jumping in here to say, kind of related to the program requirements, when is it not a fit for you in terms of eligibility? If you're in stealth mode, if your technology is not protected in any way and you don't want this out there, this is not the program for you. A little bit off of what Karen and Maria were talking about, this will provide you visibility. It will be your application. There will be multiple reviewers looking at it. There are multiple events where we kind of highlight you, and you'd be asked to present your technology. And so this is not to say there's not a stage where this will be good for you, but if you are in stealth mode, either talk to us. If you're not, if you don't think you'll be ready to kind of come out with your technology, this is probably not the right program for you. So just kind of wanted to put this out there. And again, feel free to reach out and ask us about this.
Thanks, Kyle. Yeah, really good point. Especially because visibility and recognition is such a big part of this program. You have to be willing to shine as part of this and utilize that aspect as well. The program costs nothing to apply. This is probably the most common question we get. We also take, no equity in your company as well, but will you have to dedicate, which, we alluded to is your time, as we mentioned, maybe 5 to 10 hours a week, as well as traveling. So for MTI, we have 3 pitch events that are in person. We really encourage you to go to. Also great for you for networking purposes, LA, DC, and Dublin, which are usually in March or April. We have our Innovator Summit, which is going to be in June. This is for both programs. Go to Mountain View, California. Maria talked about this.
Why don't you go to the next slide, Nicole? It's on there.
And then, finals event as well. So, here's overall timeline of what you'll be going through. And Jim, they have similar programs for BioTools and requirements. I'll let him talk about.
Yeah, I mean, the timelines are all pretty similar. We've got the same application deadlines. We have the same cycles. We have a joined summit where all the cohorts come together for a 2 to 3 day kickoff program, and then we run for a similar amount of time. But what really differentiates is our capstone, the closing events are always in person, and those are separate events, usually in October.
Awesome. So for MTI, what does this look like? So this past year, for example, we got more than 1,300 applications received, then invited about 200 companies to pitch. So about 15% of those companies got invited to pitch at one of those 3 in-person pitch events, or we also have a virtual pitch event if you cannot make any of those, but really encourage you to attend the in-person events if possible. Again, helps with networking, visibility, and actually, getting a relationship with those partners that are going to be selecting you and voting on you. Then our selection committee will select 65 companies. So it's usually split about 2/3 early stage companies, which typically not always have raised up to around 15 million or so. And then about 1/3 mid-stage companies, which have raised more than that, often are clinical or commercial stage. And they have slightly different mentoring and resources through them, leading to our competitions.
And for BioTools, we had 300 applications last year. We're looking to grow that significantly this year. We invite 20% to our road tour pitch events this year. We're going to have one in Boston, San Diego, location abroad to be decided, and then a virtual event. We're adding the abroad event this year, so we're figuring out the details. But these will all happen between March to early May. And then for our grand prize, we give away a $250,000 grand prize to the winner, along with other additional cash prizes as well.
Awesome. So this is an example of our ecosystem and some of our larger partners through this. So in MedTech Innovator, we're very fortunate to partner with around, a dozen or so corporate partners, including Johnson & Johnson. Maria mentioned was her mentor, Olympus, Dexcom, BD, many big names. So all of our early stage companies will get a mentor from one of those organizations. Additionally, we have a lot of service provider mentors that I didn't mention, but like Proxima, Sunrise Labs, which Maria talked about, things like that. We also have 3 society partners in MTI for our tracks. So if you're doing your application, you'll notice it'll ask you if you're interested in any one of these tracks. So the American Heart Association sponsors our heart and brain track. So if you're in those spaces and interested in some additional visibility and mentorship through them, definitely select that. We have our military medicine track through MTech, which is the Medical Technology Enterprise Consortium. Great organization for access to the military market. And then finally, our plastic surgery track. If you have an innovation that can be used in plastic surgery, either directly or indirectly, so we see a lot of surgical tools enter this track, definitely look into those. Yeah, and then I'll let Jim talk about their partners.
Yeah, thanks. So we have a couple of investor partners, Broad Oak and RCT Capital, who have helped found our program. We also have some industry sponsors, Nissan Chemical and Thermo Fisher, along with a bunch of other strategics, investors, and people who participate in our programming. So we got a great ecosystem and a lot of great people and a lot of great investors. And when actually, I was a founder too, I raised money. And when I came to BioTools back in 2021, I was like, man, like all these people I've been trying to get a hold of, they're here already, like in this one place. So it's really great for that. And then we're expanding our program too, thanks to BARDA. So we have a program to expand our accelerator. So we're going to grow from 20 to 30 companies by adding BioTools Vanguard to our accelerator this year. And then we also have an additional, as I mentioned earlier, the funding solicitation. And so please check that out. But it's an opportunity to apply for grant money independent of the accelerators, but definitely check it out.
Awesome. Turn it over to Isla for some closing and more information.
Thank you, Nicole. Just kind of wrapping up what Jim was saying, I'm going to put in the chat a link to our next info session for the BARDA funding solicitation, the Vanguard program funding solicitation and accelerator track. So if you want to learn more about this, we're kind of running out of time. But if you want to learn more about this, please join us on November 25th for the next info session on that opportunity. So to wrap it up, really, we want to leave time for your questions, but these are the links to apply. Again, deadline, January 15th. Please do not wait for the last moment. The earlier you submit your application, the sooner you'll have more eyes on your applications from your reviewers, and your chances of getting in are increasing. This is a link to a page with all of our upcoming info sessions. We did not dive deep into each of the programs here. This is kind of more of an overall introduction to our programs. For each of our programs, we will have separate info sessions coming up. So please do use this link to sign up for one of the next information sessions to get all your answers, your questions answered, so on and so forth. Maybe as we kind of wrap up, Cara, 2 words, the most valuable thing you had from this program. Okay, not 2 words, but really quick. So the most valuable thing that you took out of this program?
Mentorship and confidence building, validation.
All right, fantastic to hear. Maria, different question for you. One piece of advice for applicants?
Oh, yeah. Do not hesitate, just apply. This was my 3rd time applying. Persistence, resilience is key. That's it. Just go for it. I'm more than happy to share my application if you want to. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you all for doing this, and let's get into the questions. I know we have...
Can I say something before we start, Isla? So
Yeah,
we only have 10 minutes, 8 minutes technically left, but we have a lot of questions. We have 1 hour allotted. I will stay on. I think we'll stay on and answer all the questions. So it may run longer, but if you need to drop off at the hour, we understand. And we'll record this and send this out afterwards. So no worries.
I can say.
Great. Maybe we can start with some of the hands raised to get some of the live ones. So Arendra, do you want to ask your question? You can unmute yourself, Arendra. Nope. All right, maybe she'll get up next. Nayana, do you want to share your question?
All right, maybe as we wait for this to be fixed, we can start with some of the questions in the Q&A. All right, let's see. So our lead asset falls into enabling technologies, but we have another one that falls into diagnostics. Do you advise us, and is it possible to apply with both? I read this question because it's a question for multiple people. Yes, you can apply to both programs or multiple programs. You will only get into one, but you can apply to different programs, especially, again, like I said, it's pretty rare, but if your technologies fall into different categories, you're welcome to apply to both, and we will curate this on the back end anyway as it comes back from our reviewers, and even before sometimes, and we will let you know if that needs to be directed into a different program.
We got a live, Nyana has, or no, I'm sorry.
Hi. Yeah, a quick question. You mentioned in one of the eligibility criteria, sort of pre-seed companies that have runway to execute their current milestones. Is there a minimum amount of sort of funding that you're looking for the company to have? So if we were about like 100 to 150 grand, if we were in that range of how much money we have in our bank account, is that sufficient for what we're looking to do, or do you have a minimum amount of money that you expect companies to have?
So there's no minimum amount. It also obviously depends on your burn rate, right? So it really depends on what kind of activities you're doing, how much money you're burning through every month. And so for us, really, the important thing here is that you're able to act on the advice that you're getting, right? To implement the things that you are, that your mentors help you with. And so as long as this is the case, or you're waiting on grants, you're things like that, you know, so again, include as much information as possible in your application. Explain why this makes sense.
Right.
There's no minimum amount, and we just want to make sure that if you're in the program, you're in it in the right time and able to act on it. So
Fair.
that's the goal.
Thank you.
And for those of you with your hands raised, still, if you could just update your name, there's 3 little dots next to it in the attendee tab. It'll help us call on you easier. I think if you signed up via Ari's link and joined the one he emailed this morning, that's why your name is Ari, but we would love to know your name. Anonymous attendee asked about a clinician-facing mental health software. Yes, this is within the MedTech Innovator interest areas. So please apply to that program, and you can ask me if you have any questions. Akriti asked any examples of health tech companies, since most are life science or devices. So health tech, do you mean more digital health tech, I guess? And Jim, do you want to talk to that a bit?
Yeah, I think it's the MedTech Innovator companies, again, they often have a patient touching part of their product that has a regulatory component, not always, but often. So sort of a broad health tech platform would probably be more of a BioTools product. But you know, insurance products, things like that, probably not a great fit for our program. It's not our expertise, but if it's helping to manufacture, helping to patients, you know, clinical trial support, clinical trial platforms, that's definitely within our program's wheelhouse, and we've had companies go through on that area. So if you have questions or there's a gray line, and there probably is, just reach out to us afterwards, and we'll be happy to talk to you and figure out what the best path is.
In one example from MedTech Innovator, we get a lot in the cardiology space. So AccurKardia is an ECG diagnostic software company that's device agnostic. So they can, you know, work with several different devices in the market, and their technology is, you know, really more on the automated ECG interpretation, cloud-based software end of things. Yeah. I got a question about science or public health impact. So as the programs seem to be focused on drug discovery and pure medicine research / augmentation instead of downstream commercialization. Jim, you want to talk about that for BioTools?
Yeah. We don't really evaluate it that way. It's really, is this within our focus area? Is it an area we can help? Is it an area where our ecosystem has value? And is it a fundable, growable business? Is this something that's going to make an impact on the world? And you know, in terms of drug discovery, pure medicine research, if you can build a business around it, yeah, it's a fit. If it's a research lab and a product that doesn't have a business around it, probably not. You know, there's a lot of amazing technology out there, but you've got to be on a path to build a business around it.
Great. Along the same line, David asked about BioTools focus areas. Can you recap that, Jim?
Not for drug companies. Yeah. So, you know, there's a lot of resources and support if you're a drug company. You know, if you're trying to build that, it's a very different business. It's long term. You know, you're talking about 10 years. You're talking about high risk. You know, the odds of a drug getting, you know, approved into the market is vanishingly small. But the rewards are huge as well. So it's a very neat and important area. But the biotools are different. We often don't have that regulatory clinical trial process. We are again unregulated a lot. So these are more like 3, 5, 7 year development timeline companies, and the risks are a lot lower. So our ecosystem is really built around that tools side of things, as opposed to the big bet gamble on the drug. So there's other resources for that, but but it's outside of our scope, and our expertise is not really able to help that. Now, in these cases, a lot of our customers, the customers of our companies, are pharma, drug, biotech companies.
And think about this as kind of the picks and shovels of the pharma, biotech, sometimes ag, food industry. So really enabling technologies, and even with the new Vanguard program, right? It's the enabling tools to the technologies that are needed for pandemic preparedness, for example, or the public health perspective in the more traditional sense of the word. So really the picks and shovels of everything. So if you think about a diagnostic, for example, there's the patient-facing part, but there's the technology that enables it, right? So that's kind of how the rule of thumb that you can use. But again, there are nuances. Just reach out to us and ask us. And specifically for the Vanguard program, again, I don't want to go into it in depth too much, because I want everyone that thinks they may be a fit to join the information session on November 25th, so we can learn more in depth about this opportunity.
Yeah, I've got one here I want to take from Sergey. What if some technology can allow developing a medical device or diagnostic and a life science research tool? What else, despite the mentioned sequencing versus imaging, should be used to understand what program is better to apply to? And this is just really ironic because, Kara, your company is an image-based sensor technology, effectively, but you won BioTools. So you can always break the rules. But the difference was her business model. And so her business is not, she's not selling, you know, cancer diagnostics to patients. She's doing something different in that market. So I think again, this is often the most confusing area for people, and it's difficult for us too, because sometimes there's just a lot of gray area here. So in cases where it could be both, we would want to talk to you. Reach out to us. Let's talk, because it really depends on kind of who you are, where you're at, and what company you're trying to build, and we'd help kind of guide you to the right support for that.
And another great rule of thumb, again, is it regulated? That could give you a great tip, whether it's an MTI or BTI product. If it's not regulated in that specific way through an FDA pathway, it might be still in the MTI program, but it might be the BioTools one. Reach out to us. We know it's a little bit of a gray area sometimes. Reach out to us. Ask. If you have a doubt and you are shy about asking, apply to both. We will make the decision for you. I promise you.
Awesome. Got a bunch of questions from anonymous attendee. What differentiates successful applicants from others? I would say really those that are going to make a big impact and have shown traction that they're going to make a big impact to healthcare or the biotool space. In that case, a lot of times for MTI, these are folks that can also really demonstrate how they would utilize the program well, especially mentorship from our partners. So if you have close alignment with one of our partners, you can find them all on our our website and could benefit from mentorship from them, relevant to their interest areas, make sure to mention that. I don't know, Maria, do you have any advice? You mentioned this is your third year applying, so maybe, you know, something that you did this year differently.
Yeah, I mean, it's a competitive program, guys. So I don't think, I mean, getting in the first time around, especially if you're pre-seed, it's going to be a little tough, but it's always good to do the exercise of applying, communicating your company and what it does and the value proposition in a successful way takes time and a lot of, you know, back and forth, especially as CEO. So it's worth to try and get, oh, by the way, you get the feedback from anybody who actually reviews your application. You get very useful feedback on the things that they see as advantageous or maybe areas of improvement. So at least for me, what I did was that, like, even though I got projected, like in most of the time you do as a CEO, right? So I use that feedback to improve my next iteration. One of the things that I highly recommend is this time around we did that the in-person pitching. I flew to Los Angeles instead of doing it virtually. It's just personally much better for me specifically because I have, you know, an accent, and I sort of like my charisma and, like, you know, all of this passion that you see through the screen is much more, I'll say, convincing when you see me and demoing, you know, the prototype, everything, you know, going through the questions, the Q&A, especially. I think it was very, very successful, and because it's a competitive program, so you really need to make a great effort to try to get in.
Yeah, thanks, Maria. And glad she mentioned the in-person aspect. I really encourage you guys to go to the in-person pitch events. This is where you can make an impression on the judges, which are going to be selecting companies the best. As Maria mentioned, you know, your personality will shine through, your coachability will shine through, what you can bring prototypes. And so really think hard when you're choosing those locations that you can pitch at, because look at your calendar, make sure that you can actually do that, because that'll go miles if you're selected to go to that event. What should you highlight when applying? Everything's in the application. So, you know, highlight everything relevant in terms of your accomplishments. You know, if you have recently filed a patent, if you have, you know, really cool paper that came out on your technology, things like that are really helpful to our diligence process as well. So don't just limit it to business milestones. We're interested in the science and what makes you cool as well. Aspects most critical to focus on, definitely your upcoming milestones and previous milestones. What are you going to be accomplishing? We want to make sure that this program is the right fit for you and that you're going to be getting advice from relevant folks for your milestones. I don't know if anyone else's advice on this is very broad.
Yeah. I think for me, just a couple things to point out, and we went over it very quickly, but the way our program works, we've got applications open right now. Those close mid-January. So when our applications close, we go into review phase. We have a whole ecosystem of reviewers who review our applications. I just did the math on your MedTech applications. If one person was to review an application for 10 minutes, that's 9 full days, 24-hour days of work. It's a lot of applications to review. And so we have a whole ecosystem that reviews these, and then they provide comments, feedback, they help rate and score them. And from that process, we work with our partners to select an invitation pool to our in-person road tour event, which is about 15 to 20% of applicants get invited to one of these events. And it's huge value. People get connections, investors, you get all sorts of relationships out of it. It's really great.
And just a clarification here, Jim, on this point, you will be invited to in-person event. The virtual events are only in the event that you are unable to attend for whatever reason, and we understand. For BioTools, for example, there up until this year, we didn't have an international event, and so international companies had the option to fly into the US or pitch internationally. We're changing that as well. You will be invited to an in-person event unless, you know, other circumstances, because we want you to succeed, because we want you to get the feedback. Exactly 100% what Maria said, right? So it's also about meeting the founder, understanding who's behind this technology and company. So
yeah, there was a company from Argentina who actually flew to Los Angeles. So
yeah.
But I think what's really important is that it's not me or Nicole or Ayelet who's picking you guys. So you can't ask us like, why didn't I make it in? Because we are here to support, but we curate a community of feedback. And so it's really a community driven process. So when you come to the road tour judge pitching event, we do provide feedback from that event at those times, but that's the process. So in terms of like what we're looking for, what's important, it's all important, but it's how you present yourself. And it's really like looking for, is this a differentiated technology that's going to make a difference in the world and have a potential to make an impact? That's really, I think, what people look for. And are you the right people to do it?
Yep. Thanks. And then last one we have here is what would make a company a good fit or not a good fit. What I like to tell folks is really comes down to the technology. Do you have something really exciting in your technology that is proprietary, that you can patent, that is going to improve human health? And I think the biggest questions people have are sometimes around this consumer wellness space, for example. So for example, if you're like, creating an energy drink, putting different, compounds together, but nothing proprietary, that probably wouldn't be a great fit for it. But if you're creating, an online digital platform that has proprietary algorithms for, analyzing different techniques that surgeons are using and which is the most successful, that would be a great example that does fit. So I think really just come down to, is there something unique in your technology that can propel you and give you a competitive advantage? I think that's the easiest way to say that, but awesome. Discuss time commitment for the accelerator, how to be a competitive applicant. So we mentioned this, generally I would say, expect to commit a minimum of 5 hours a week to the program between mentor meetings and webinars, things like that. More intensive during the competitions and travel, of course. So for a summit, for example, you'll have to spend, around 3 days in Mountain View, California. For the pitch events as well, you'll have to spend 2 or 3 days at the end for your capstone. How to be a competitive applicant. I would say really, again, emphasize your technology, how it's unique, how no one else can do what you can do, and how you're going to bring this to patients. So those 5% are really, the best of the best. So again, don't be discouraged if you apply this year and don't get in. We will save your application and make it easy for you next year, and as you accomplish more milestones. But those were chosen due to their milestones, accomplishments, and what they're going to get out of the program as well.
And I would add to that.
Sorry. So just to add to this point, one of the things that you have to keep in mind, as mentioned, we are not picking your applications. This is a team effort and a group effort of our ecosystem, our partners, our corporate partners. These strategic focus areas for our partners also evolve and change over the years. There are some that are staples and will always be there, but some strategic interests change. And so sometimes if you didn't fall under this category last year, but this year, this category is actually interesting to our partners, it's worth reapplying, thinking through both your progress, but also your progress as a company, but also as kind of our changing. And Cara is a fantastic example, right? We did not look initially in BioTools on applications that are related to ag, right? The application was in ag. We are looking at them now, knowing that there is a future impact on human health, right? So definitely things change. Keep that in mind. One other thing, just going back to a point that you've raised, Nicole, before, time commitment. Sometimes it would be a little bit higher. Sometimes it's a little less, depending on the phase of the program. One thing that we really ask you to consider, we want your CEO or another founder, C-level executive, to be the face of the company in the program. Again, for the same reason that we talked about with the runway, we want someone that can make decisions, that understands enough about the technology and the company to be able to make decisions and act on the advice that you're getting. The mentors that you'll be meeting are really seasoned professionals. They want to interact with the CEO or the founder to work with your company. And so, and that has been, if you're talking about secret to success, that is one. Okay, send your CEO or another C-level executive. If you cannot, if you can't possibly have the CEO participate for whatever reason, that's a really important thing that I want to stress out.
Yeah, and just real quick, I would add, the secret for me that I'll share with you guys. So stop recording. No, you don't stop recording. But the secret I would share with you guys is, really what we're looking for is coachable founders. If you're coachable, that's what we can provide. We provide expert help, understanding better the business, the market, the strategy, people who've been there and done it, and investors and things like that. So if you're not a coachable person, that's honestly it's one of the big warning flags that we look for, and some people don't make it in because they aren't really the right fit for the accelerator. So from my perspective, I would add that, because we're looking for people who are here to learn, to share, to participate, to be a part of the community.
Awesome. Got a question from Matthew. Standing relationships with hospitals, clinics, where clinical studies and trials can be explored. So nothing formalized. We do have a lot of informal relationships within our network with, like Mayo Clinic, Hackensack Meridian Health, things like that, where we're happy to make introductions. Each year for MTI, we also have a webinar all about clinical trials that you can learn from and ask our expert panelists questions. Within our community as well, we always see folks, ask for recommendations for clinical trial sites and documents for running this as well. So yeah, that's
one thing I'll add here as well on this question, and that's actually an important one. Like I said, this information session was a little bit of an overview for all of our programs and the process, the application, all that. Please join us for the MedTech Innovator next session. Nicole, if you could put up again that QR code, it will send you to a page with all of our information session to all of our programs. The reason I'm saying this, when we talk more in depth about the MedTech program, you'll hear more about the value program. The value program is the gateway for relationships like that. So we want to make sure, and we are working with we're actually strengthening that component, working with GPOs and other groups that will help you actually get your clinical trials to where they need to be. And within our network, we do have a lot of these the stakeholders in hospitals that can help you with that. And again, let's talk more about this during the MedTech Innovator info session and talk more about the value program. This is a critical component for you getting your product into a hospital. So wanted to add that here. I think we're 15 minutes past our time. We want to make sure we respect everyone's time. We know we did not answer all of your questions, but we will send out the recording and try to answer the questions that were not answered here. And again, you still have an opportunity to join us for more information sessions and email us your questions. I put in the chat all of our emails. Please feel free to email your questions. We will try to send out a response to most of the questions that were not answered during the recording. And again, we're looking forward to seeing your application. My strong advice to you is start the application as soon as you can. And that will give you an opportunity to see also what are the next questions that you have as you're kind of going through the application. So do that. Good luck. We'll see more of you in the coming weeks in our info sessions. I do want to first really thank Maria and Cara for being here, two phenomenal founders that have really, really well-deserved win this year. And so really, and just saying, these are two female founders. We know how hard it is in the industry. So really kudos to both of you. Really kudos to both of you. You've done an amazing, amazing job. Thank you for joining us today. And thank you for offering your help to future applicants. And thank you to Jim and Nicole, our program directors. You will see a lot more of them, get a lot more emails from them, and please use them. They are an amazing resource to help you make your way to the MedTech Innovator and BioTools Innovator programs. So thank you everyone for joining us. Really enjoyed having you all here and looking forward to hearing from you.